Well, former Trump attorney Michael Cohen is testifying before a Manhattan grand jury today.
The testimony is closed door, and it's part of an ongoing investigation into the former president's alleged hush money payments to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Cohen has admitted making the payments on behalf of the former president in the final weeks of his 2016 campaign, the former president's, that is. He spent time in prison, in fact, for lying to Congress and campaign finance violations. Now we're talking about Mr. Cohen. His testimony today could signal that prosecutors are getting ever closer to the conclusion of this long investigation.
CBS News investigative reporter Graham Cates is following this story. He joins us now here in Studio 57. Graham, welcome. I know you have been following essentially every twist and turn of this case. What is the significance of Michael Cohen's testimony today before the grand jury?
Michael Cohen, by his own admission, was a key player in this effort in the final days before the election in 2016 to pay an alleged hush money payment to the adult film star Stormy Daniels. They were trying to prevent her from talking about what she says was an affair with Donald Trump. And he kind of describes in his own book and in testimony in another case an effort to wire this $130,000 payment to her using limited liability companies and actually two pseudonyms for Donald Trump and for Stormy Daniels.
So, I somewhat lose track of which investigation is which and who's faced consequences at what point. So Michael Cohen has already done jail time. Could he face additional consequences in this case?
No, it's really unlikely. The way grand juries work in New York is if you are subpoenaed as a witness, you're given immunity for your testimony. Okay. So right now as we speak, he's sitting in the grand jury and he's not at risk for anything that he says. And now that differentiates from, for instance, if the target of the probe were to go before the grand jury, that's where you get the opportunity to do it, but you give up that immunity that Cohen has.
What about the former president? I understand Donald Trump is unlikely to testify before the grand jury, but what's the likelihood of charges being filed against the former president?
Well, so he last week received an invitation to address the grand jury, again, where he would give up that immunity. And typically that's one of the last things in New York courts that you would do for the charge of a probe. You don't have them come and address the grand jury at the beginning. It's right at the end when you're often when you're ready to ask the grand jury to consider an indictment.
So Michael Cohen is testifying, but he has immunity. But the request to talk to the former president did not include this offer of immunity? Yeah,
it wasn't a subpoena. It's an invitation. So the prosecutors will say, if you would like to address the grand jury because you are a target of this investigation, you may do that. In New York, it's very, very rare for someone to actually take them up on that invitation, because when you're before a grand jury, it's not like in a regular courtroom where a prosecutor examines you and then your own defense attorney can examine you. The prosecutors are running the show, so it's really rare for someone to do that.
Interesting.
Yeah, Graham, I know you don't have a crystal ball here, but is there perhaps a bit of a time frame that we might be looking at? If there were to be charges, what might that actually look like regarding a time frame?
And if I could just add the time frame, but also what might the charges be? What are we talking about here exactly when it comes to a charge?
Sure. So in terms of a time frame, we don't know specifically, but again, this is typically the end. When you're talking to either a key witness by subpoena or the person who's the target of the probe, that's typically towards the end of the grand jury. And what they're looking at, there's two kind of things in combination. The first has to do with how the wire was made, this effort to kind of obscure who was making it. And then the other part of it was Michael Cohen describes in his book fronting the money for it. And it's described as something done to help the campaign. And of course, the Trump side says that's not how this went down at all. But so those are the two elements of it. Was this an illegal campaign contribution? And was this essentially wire fraud?
Was it sort of an attempt to conceal the transfer of money? Is that where the sort of difficulty legally comes in, because an attempt was made to sort of perhaps hide what exactly this money was intended to be used for?
Yeah, and again, and also to not register it as a campaign contribution. And I just want to add the extra caveat that, again, we haven't seen any indictment. This is all kind of based on Cohen's own previous testimony and his own writing and also the writing of a former prosecutor who described the legal theory behind this.
All right, much more to come. Graham Cates. Graham, always good to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.